I personally feel that as an industry, to give a direction to the industry, like if you draw parallels from other industries, for example, automobile industry has seen a disruption with the coming of electric vehicles, right? EVs. We saw the phone industry going through a huge change when you got smartphones, right? LED television has been able to sort of disrupt the television industry. So even in our industry, technology, if if you see what has happened, some examples, for example, Carlos from Genealogy is here, right? What laser has done to the industry? It has really disrupted the whole garment finishing part of the industry, right? So it's way more sustainable, it's way more efficient, less losses, lower costs. So I think technology, and today there are multiple technologies which one can see in our industry, right? From dyeing in a very, very efficient manner with very, very low costs and with very sort of let's say very sustainable manner, to recycling, to multiple things that we're seeing in our industry. And I personally feel that this technology has a power of being able to make the industry more efficient, more sustainable, right? Bring down costs as well and reduce wastages. So this whole thing about using technology, that's to me is one important part in the industry. So because then it can take the industry to the next level. It can give a new direction to the industry, and all these things will form a subset of that. So sustainability, circularity, all these things will be a subset of that. That's one point. The other thing is that I believe in our industry, we have got some great design people, right? Very, very good design talent. We've got some very good operations talent, merchandising talent, management, right? So the managerial part of the industry, because for the industry to create value, attracting good talent to the industry. So like you have talent going to other industries and creating disproportionate value in the industry. Unfortunately, as an industry, we've not been able to attract great talent where we have been able to create value, for the stakeholders. So if we end up doing that, then more capital will flow to the industry, more money is going to flow to the industry. People will start seeing this industry as creating a lot of value. So these are a few things that came to my mind that I thought I'd share.
Well, the first three things. The first one, I think we covered that with reduction. So how to embrace reduction, how to make it feasible. The second one is related to efficiency. If you ask my dad, he would tell you that the essential part of being sustainable is being efficient. And fully agree with Stefan, with everybody, like we've been very inefficient and for many, many different reasons. And so we need to, again, when I say we have to do less and better, it relates also to that. And so if you look at concepts as recycling, for instance, which could be downcycling, reusing something, or upcycling, that also relates to efficiency very, very much. And it's a very industrial concept that some people totally forgot about. And the third point is, let's make good stuff and communicate it properly, because there is a lack of interest, there is a lack of excitement when it comes to denim. I mean, it should be one of the coolest things ever. And I'm not saying this because I'm a denim guy myself. And I mean, I'm talking to roughly 300 people who are all excited about denim. I'm looking at the global market. So now we are all concentrating on traceability, for instance. And traceability, the essential key or keys of traceability would be truth and facts. Unfortunately, we are tracing things back to a point where marketing is still creating a very interesting gray or green area where things you don't really know what's true, what's not. Now we can talk about blockchain and blah, blah, blah. At the same time, blockchain doesn't really create excitement, but it would be a cool topic also. Or transparency. But as Maurizio said, if you want to communicate transparently about something, you should be honest in first place. And now, I mean, I really hope that people during this lockdown had a little more time to investigate and to build their own education, because I understand that it's not easy to boost excitement into the industry as much as it's not easy to boost clarity and informations have to be, you have to dig quite deep in order to find out what's true and what's not. And we let that go. We allowed that to happen. We allowed many brands to spray paint their facades in green, and we wouldn't really go behind that facade. So again, we should be very, very careful and conscious. We need better communication. And when I say better communication, I mean more transparent, more honest, or honest, there's no more honest, and at the same time, cool, excitement, engaging. I mean, there are many platforms in the future, especially through the digital experience, which will engage and connect with the consumer in a different way, from customization. Look at that. Would you buy like a customized pair of jeans for $300 or even $500 instead of 10 fast retailers jeans for 30? Or would you buy something which is considered premium for about 200, 250 and probably costed like 25 to be made? So when I'm talking about the feasibility of this new market, we should also look into business models. I believe that many business models will no longer work. Too many times we have a pair of jeans that costed $10, $12, $15, and then you have fast retailers selling those guys for $49, $39, and then you have some other guys selling for $100, $150. But it's pretty much the same stuff. And so I think that, I mean, of course, new business models will probably happen faster. I mean, I said customization, that's one, of course. But it's about you, consumer, citizen, trying to put your hands into it, try to create your product. So you want to know more. And the more money you spend, the more you want to know about it.
I think there's really great points being made by my friends here. And I just want to very quickly mention that getting the consumer back to play with us, to engage with us is critical. I think now I mentioned the digital world because consumers embrace it, understand that we can start now customizing everything from our pizza to our tennis shoes. And we still have a few things that to do with denim. I think there's been some really clever experiments that have been done at customization and certainly collaboration, digital collaboration to me sounds fantastic. We have now the technology to get people who really love denim to participate, to bring in ideas. And I think we need to focus on that ecosystem that becomes really digital, that allows us to work with raw material producers, fantastic fabric, and how do you match fabric with the specific finishing that you want, etc. So I think the digital world is number one. Also, I love the concept of an honest sustainability and traceability that Alberto was sharing. I think greenwashing, guys, needs to stop. We need to reassure consumers that when we say something is sustainable, it is. We have to be careful about hurting the industry with false claims or inaccurate claims. I think we need to be very responsible in the way we pursue sustainability as an industry. And I really believe that we can do it. I really believe we can. We are wholeheartedly believers that this industry, being as smart as it is, as clever as it is, as creative as it is, we can find a way and a path forward. And the last thing I would like to say is that we need to figure out a more financially viable model than having huge inventory plays that are like betting $1 million on a roll of dice. It's too much. It's hurting everybody. It's hurting stores. It's hurting brands. It's hurting factories. It's hurting mills. It's hurting everybody when we don't have logical decision-making and how we finance and how we interpret inventory. It's crazy to think that we can survive having, like Stefano was saying at the beginning, millions upon millions of garments that are never sold, that are never used, that are just dumped. We have to be more clever. And I think we are clever as an industry, and we have to figure out a fair way to share risk throughout the supply chain so that we hurt each other less and thrive better. So I'm feeling that if we can do a few of these things right that my friends have said, we're going to be in very good footing.
All great points from everybody. It's difficult to follow, but not being a technician, I'm in the industry, I'm thinking about three things instinctually. One requires zero investment, financial investment. It's called rethinking of our values, our principles, and the way we work. I think that every company, every individual and every company should have this conversation with himself, herself, and ourselves. What is our company stands for, and why are we in business for, and what type of business we want, and how we want to conduct ourselves. So that to me is number one. Number two is I believe that we have no other alternatives than collaborating. Spirit of collaboration it's something that is fundamental nowadays. I mean, we all suffer from the same illness. We are all suffering from the same crisis, from the same virus, from the same financial challenges. I think that there is enough culture, knowledge, and willingness to create alliances so we can all together solve some of the issues that we have. So, and good point about involving citizens into this, because they have also something to say, and we can learn from them. Instead of using them as consumer, we use them as inspirer of a new way of thinking. And the third element is and the spirit, this idea, the third point to me is changing mentality in the way we design and make product. I think, of course, I will always vote for good product, better product, and then the big question about denim is that when I say the changing mentalities, of course, is about denim. And my question for everybody: is denim a 5-pocket pair of pants?
From our perspective, the chemical company, we are really low in the food chain. Okay, we are the last guys on the block. And from our perspective, what we feel is that there is an overall lack of strategic vision, and I would say not necessarily throughout the value chain, but especially when it comes to brands and retailers. Well, I had the privilege to be operating in a brand and retailer, and pretty good one as well, Levi's, and I do know that sometimes there is a rush, to get to market, and there is the season coming. You're not necessarily thinking or looking at the whole picture. You're really trying to go to market in a way that you think is the more appropriate. But if I have to think of the three things that right now the industry should focus on, well, obviously, right now there should be a focus on what could be done with the massive inventory that it's in the warehouses around the world, and which can probably not be used before the next season or year or years. And that should be clearly a priority. And I really hope that efforts are being there in order to understand what can be done. Then, second, because fast fashion completely drew the consumer to a commodity world, and because once you get into a commodity world, you're really not really adding value. There should be a focus on a sort of a newfound love for quality and longer lasting products and better design, which is what we were talking about a second ago. And that requires a fundamental revolution within brands and retailers, which is what Maurizio was saying. And then if I think of a sort of a third thing that should be focused on is there are way too many suppliers, customers of ours that are suffering and risk bankruptcy because of questionable commercial behaviors. Then I think the industry entirely needs to focus on ethics that are real and that are sometimes missing. And I know this is a big point. And there should be ethics and should be the enforcement of them. I don't know exactly how the Transformer Foundation, led by Andrew Ola, is really working on that. I have the honor of being part of that movement, and I can tell you that there are ideas being put in place. And it might be a vehicle of the industry and for the industry to resolve problems with mediations, okay? But I think something needs to be done in that area. Otherwise, the entire value chain is going to suffer, and we're gonna lose incredible value. So this would be my 3 areas to focus on.
Yeah, it's 3 priorities. One is pretty much a given. We'll have to look into rationalizing both fabric bases and garment bases, because it's quite frankly out of control. We think we're also smart. We're really a bunch of idiots. How many fabrics have you made over the history of your company, Amir? 15,000 maybe? But how many of those are really truly different fabrics? Same with you, Alberto. How many fabrics have you made just because we cannot say no to a customer and say, no, we have this one. It's exactly what you need. And eventually we'll have to get there, because we're all looking at incredible amounts of stocks out there and inventories piling up all over the place of stuff that is actually perfectly good. There's nothing wrong with it, but we fell into this trap of this, it has to be new at all costs. We have to have seasonal newness. What the hell does seasonal newness mean in denim? Denim is same fabric that you can wear all year round. There's no, a lot of these things are self-inflicted. So I think now we're going to be forced to look at these things more rationally, and the reduction of quantity will come as a consequence. And I'm not advocating that we should raise our prices on everything. I understand that very well. There's a lot of people who cannot afford to buy expensive clothes. So it's not like overnight we can say, I reduced my quantities by 50%, I increased my prices by 25%, and I'm gold. It's not that simple. But one thing that we should work on together as an industry is to try and educate people. We've done a phenomenal job at miseducating our customers and let them believe that it was okay to buy all disposable stuff. I think people should realize that old saying, I think it's so good. It says, I am too poor to afford cheap clothes. And it's very true. If you buy cheap stuff, you end up spending a lot more at the end of the day, because you're going to have something that is not going to last, it's not going to have any quality, it's not going to have any strength or anything. So that's one major change that I would like to see in the industry. Second one, we've been talking ad nauseum about sustainability for the last 3 years. I hope people will not forget it right away and say, no, we're in survival mode now. We cannot afford to spend more to try to recycle or to try to make better use of our resources. I see recycling facilities are struggling right now. Everything is being thrown away, thrown in the landfill. Used garments cannot be shipped because there's a fear of contamination. So there's a lot of issues that we need to focus on. And the third one that I think is pretty essential is that we really need to start looking at I think people should start looking at the definition of partnership again, because it's something that people have been talking about for so long. But now that the proverbial shit hits the fan, partnership is out of the window. And so many customers have shifted into panic mode, and it's not a judgmental call. I understand that when you're back to the wall, you have to look at trying to save your skin, and it's easier to look at the immediate problems that you have to face now than looking at the consequences down down the line. But all these partnerships that we've been talking about are pretty much moot right now. There's no partnership if you think it's okay to go to your largest suppliers and say, oh, sorry, by the way, all the orders that you produced, they're canceled, and everything that you have in your pipeline, it's canceled. And well, if we go back to work, maybe I'll come back to you, and I'm probably going to ask you for a substantial discount because I haven't been able to make my margin for the last 3 months. So we need partnerships more than ever. And brands, retailers, factories, textile operations, we all have to work together because that's the only way to get out of this. We can't just keep pushing the buck down the line and just allow the lowest part of the operation to suffer the most. It's just not right.